If I can have everybody's attention. If I can have everybody's attention, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Blount County Board of Zoning Appeals for May to order.
Andy Allen. Here. Larry Chesney. Here. Bruce Damrow.
Here.
Stan Hedrick. Here. Rob Walker.
Here. If there's no discussion, is there a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. We have 5 things on the agenda tonight, 3 special exceptions and 2 variances. This first special exception is a resident facility on Prospect Road.
Not to be redundant, but to repeat you, this special exception request is for a resident facility with special services, treatment, or supervision at 313 Prospect Road. The property is identified on tax map 21, parcel 80. This property is approximately 59 acres and is zoned R1. The property has a grandfathered special events facility located on it, known as Sunnybrook Farm. The applicant, True Purpose Ministries, previously known as True Purpose Recovery, is requesting the resident facility with special services, treatment, or supervision in addition to the special events venue. The special event venues would accommodate temporary uses that do not require residency, similar to a conference, classes, and other hourly or daily activities. In section 9.2b of the Blount County zoning regulations, a resident facility with special services, treatment, or supervision is listed as a use that is permitted as a special exception. The BZA has the authority to approve these requests, provided the request is in compliance with the requirements found in 9.2 and 11.5 of the zoning regulations. And I took excerpts from our zoning regulations and put that with your packet. The site plan does indicate that the use will be conducted in the existing structures located on the property with no proposed additional structures being shown. All building setback requirements are met by the existing structures. Since there's a new use being requested, buffering around the house that would act as a solid visual buffer from any abutting properties will be required. The number of occupants at this site will exceed the average number of occupants in a 4-bedroom house, which is what the septic system is designed for. I have researched the records of the septic system, and it appears that a repair was made for the system, and that repair is consistent with the requirements for a 4-bedroom house. The additional load of more than 20 individuals may overload this system, which would require a repair. Any repair to such system would have to be permitted by a Blount County Environmental Health Department. And if it's approved, they would need to check with the Environmental Health Department anyway. They may want to require more septic field. And another side note on that, if approved, I found out from the codes department, if you house more than 16 people, they will have to bring it up to a new occupancy level. That's got to do with codes, and I don't know all the particulars, but they would have to bring that up as well. I've received many phone calls to this request. That the neighbors of this property have expressed many concerns about this type of use being approved at this location. Those concerns range from safety issues to the impact on public infrastructure in that area. They have presented me with information that I have included in this document for your review. I believe that I did receive a fax today from a lady that was not going to be able to make it, that lives in that area, Elizabeth Warwick, and she's in opposition of the request. And I thought I'd pass that along.
Thank you. Is anyone here in favor of this special exception who would like to speak? No one in favor?
I'm Jeremy.
Could you come to the microphone, please, sir?
I'm Jeremy Graham, Executive Director over True Purpose Ministries, and
Jerry Glenn is our representative that was going to be coming today, and he is on his way. He got off on Alcoa Highway probably about 10 minutes ago, so any minute now he should be here. I don't know, I'm at your mercy. I don't know if you just want me to speak and have others speak, or you want to defer to the others, to the neighbors, and then let Jerry come in, and it's totally up to y'all, whatever y'all like to do.
We generally let the folks in favor of it speak first, but
Okay.
if we can let the people in opposition speak first,
Okay.
if he'll be here in just a few minutes.
He will be, yes, sir. He
Okay.
should be here in the next 10 minutes, I'd say.
All right.
Hopefully.
You
Okay.
let me know when he comes in and
Yes.
if he wants to speak.
Okay, thank you.
I imagine there's quite a few folks here tonight who are in opposition of this. If you have a spokesperson for the group that wants to speak, that would be great. If not, we can keep the remarks from 5 minutes or less so everybody will have an opportunity to speak. But the floor is open.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight.
Excuse me, sir. Could you tell us your name for the record, please?
My name is Phil Snow, S-N-O-W. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight concerning the current use and occupancy of 313 Prospect Road, formerly the Sunnybrook Farm and Retreat. When I heard about the Tree Purpose Recovery and/or Tree Purpose Ministry had leased a property, I started doing some research and was shocked to realize the type of organization that was operating there. The following quotes come directly from their web pages. Tree Purpose Recovery is a program trying to help men fight off their prescription pill addiction. And I quote Pastor Jeremy Graham on a WBIR news story, "We are Jesus Christ-based drug and alcohol rehab." I repeat, drug and alcohol rehab. I have printed copies of both their websites, treepurposeministry.com and treepurposerecovery.com, for your review. They are one and the same. They both basically have the same information, and both have quotes about them being a drug and alcohol rehab center. I called the Blount County's mayor's office, the sheriff's department, and our commissioners. None of them knew this company was in operation. When I called the zoning commissioner, I was told a stop use order was issued on March 22nd. I was very surprised to hear this, since they have continued to live on and hold functions on this property. As I spoke with more neighbors, it became apparent that the community was very concerned and opposed to a drug alcohol recovery center operating in a residential zone next to subdivisions and the new Prospect Elementary School. This prompted our community to start a petition, which I have copies for you as well. In the short time since the public notice was posted, we were able to gather well over 300 signatures from the Prospect community opposing this type of facility to operate. We feel this is a major public safety issue, and many are concerned about decreased property values. Personally, I feel the safety of my family, my friends, and my neighbors are at risk. I am concerned for the safety and health of the children at Prospect Elementary School. Furthermore, the Blount County Sheriff told me today that he does not have the resources to handle the increase of the demand of such a facility. I ask you to look around this room. See the faces of your community. I hope you hear our voices crying for your help. I pray your answer tonight will be no. We will not allow the increased risk of public safety in our community. Thank you. And I have copies of each of the petitions and all the other information for you as well. Can I just walk up and hand them to you?
Yes. Ma'am, are you next?
I am.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Deborah Stoffel, and I'm a resident of the Seymour community. I'm not a very big person that worries about a lot of things, but when I start researching things, I get scared. In the Criminal Court of Appeals in the state of Tennessee versus Christopher Haley, which I have a copy of, had 6 felony convictions. These individuals from True Purpose Ministries appealed to the State Court of Appeals to have this guy re-released into their program after discharging him. They discharged him due to him getting in trouble again, and then they asked the State Parole Board to put him back under their system. This is public record. It's there. It's all written out. This was in 2008. Also, these two individuals that are running the True Purpose Ministries were with the New Hope Thrift Center. If any of you are familiar with that, that is a thrift center that was on Highway 66 in Sevierville that mysteriously burned down due to arson. I also have that article. This same group of individuals had nearly $20,000 worth of equipment stolen from the Knoxville Rehab Center, their mowing equipment. I know that could happen to any of us, but as a taxpayer, and that's my main concern, I moved from Seymour, from Sevier County into Blount County. My taxes doubled. I'm great with that. I love Blount County. I wouldn't be on the other side of the highway for it. But if we cannot provide proper ambulance protection, which we're 25 minutes for an ambulance to get to that facility from Maryville, if we cannot provide extra police protection, I was there also when Brookhaven Farms was there. If any of you were not there when Brookhaven Farms were there, it was a nightmare. That was a home for children that needed rehab. Those kids were everywhere. I lived in Cherokee Hills at the time. They even wandered over to our subdivision. What I would like to do is to propose that every taxpayer in Blount County stand up. That's where we stand. Thank you.
Good evening. Josh Hawk, for the record. Live in Smoky Hills subdivision. HAWK. I do understand the ministry they have. My brother-in-law spent 30 years with bad decisions, drugs, alcohol. In Ohio, went to 2 facilities. After 12 months, he went to another one, finally pulled it together. 7 years later, he's got a wife, a couple kids, job, house, fantastic. However, both the facilities that he went to were not residential. They were not 1.98 miles from a school. Totally inappropriate. I apologize, but I feel like it's a bad ethical decision, substandard morals. Quite frankly, from a religious standpoint, I'm ashamed to be here even talking about such a facility coming so close to residential and a school. I apologize for my appearance. I'm finishing the pool house, but I had an alert on my phone to make sure 30 minutes before this meeting I dropped what I was doing, headed this way. I work for South Central Media, home of 4 large radio stations, one being WJXB, 97.5, the new #1 station in the market, 103.5 WIMZ. And I assure you, if this gets a yes, I'll get enough bad publicity you won't be allowed back. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Bartek, resident of Oathana Estates. Going to read mine. I was stunned when I heard that a religious ministry has circumvented the law and populated Sunnybrook Farms with ministry students, possibly including drug addicts, alcoholics, sex abusers, and/or halfway house prisoners. I met with the Blount County Building Commissioner who said he had already issued a stop use/work order to leaders of the site. The leader explained to him that they were only bringing in good young men who were down and out to school them to become ministers. Further research has shown that this ever-changing name ministry has had similar problems in the past. It has drawn the attention of the TV stations in Knoxville on various occasions over the past 2 years. The Knoxville Sentinel has written about them. They have had to change their name many times, with the most recent being called the True Purpose Ministries. Their homepage states that they are a Jesus Christ-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation program. They will comply with court orders and probation requirements of the students. So basically we know that they're going to come out from jail, or either get a jail sentence or come over to this here ministry for a type of sentence. The vision of True Purpose is to house 150 men, which now I think has been downgraded to 60, with an orphanage and teen facilities. I ask you, who in their right mind would mix addicts with teens and children? They have classes on anger management techniques, violence and aggression prevention, conflict resolution. They told the Blount County Building Commissioner that their goals were only to keep or help down and out young men. Yet their homepage paints a different story. Which story is true? Knoxville found out and fought to keep them out. I think that they are getting smarter and learning to be politicians. Just keep changing their goals until they find the ones that allow them to get their foot in the door. Once they accomplish that, then they can reveal their true goals. I do not trust them. Do you?
Good evening. I'm Dr. Melissa Snow. Thank you for letting me speak tonight on behalf of my family and my community. I would like to talk about some of the statistics associated with relapse rates or failure involving drug and alcohol addiction. According to the Journal of American Medical Association, the average rate of relapse for these addictions is 40 to 60%. Other studies report higher relapse rates of 50 to 90%. Furthermore, men are more likely to relapse than women. True Purpose is an all-men facility. So what does this mean? Based on the national average, if 30 men are at this center, 13 to 18 will relapse or fall back into drug and alcohol use. I've been told that True Purpose has a relapse rate of 30%. That still means that 9 men will fail. If they expand their site to 60, according to the information packet they recently distributed, the numbers will double to 18 men using again. What happens when they relapse and leave the facility and wander into our community? This site is within walking distance to many homes and an elementary school. Some of these men have criminal records and some may not, but many addicts turn to crime to support their habit, as reported by the Bureau of Justice Statistics. A testimonial from True Purpose website confirms this. I quote a testimony of a student leader. I started getting involved with drugs at the age of 12. It started off with marijuana and alcohol, but that didn't satisfy me. By the age of 14, I started selling drugs. It goes on to say, I started getting affiliated with gang activity, drug trafficking, and robberies. The lifestyle of greed and murder filled the void, end quote. Another quote taken from their Facebook page on March 19th states, True Purpose, please pray for one of your fallen soldiers, Jeff Rich. He is headed back to jail once again for failing drug tests. I repeat, going back to jail again. This is not his first time. Maybe it is a second or third. He failed his drug test. He relapsed. No, True Purpose may not be considered a prison ministry, but 20 to 30%, or 6 to 9 men, are court-ordered to be there. That was provided in the information packet they gave us. It may sound like I'm just throwing numbers around, but these are national averages and True Purpose average relapse rates. It wouldn't matter if they had a success rate of 90%. It only takes one person to fail, one incident to devastate a community. We often hear stories on the news about a tragedy that has occurred in a quiet community, such as robbery, a break-in, or even worse. What if a member of our community or one of our children is caught in the path of a failed addict? What could happen? I know we cannot predict what any one person will do, nor what will happen in our community, but I do think we are at higher risk for crime and drug activity and other things if a drug and alcohol recovery center is here. No one wants these men to fail. We wish everyone could recover from their addictions, but this doesn't happen. The statistics speak for themselves. This rehab center is a public safety concern. As a neighbor, a wife, a friend, and a mother of 2 young children, I would ask the board members to consider these rates of failure and ask themselves, would you and your family be safe living next door to this facility? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stanley Fleming. I live in the Prospect area, in the Seymour area. I coach the girls' basketball team at Prospect Elementary School. I want you to know, I don't know how many people this place sits. There's quite a few people here. But it seems odd to me that all of these people were here to make it on time, and the person that's really trying to get this thing hasn't shown up yet. It's obvious that some people have a really heartfelt feeling about their community, that they do not want this. Us as voting people in Blount County need to make that felt, and you all have a duty to do for us too. Thank you.
James Breeden, 359 Prospect Road. My property directly adjoins the property in question. A few weeks ago, I went back to my back field, my woods, which I cannot see from my house. There was a man working on the fence line. I went up to him and introduced myself to him. He said his name was Jared. He said we six have bought this farm to make it into a horse farm. Apparently, I was lied to. Now, since then, I've got neighbors that can see into the back field. They're here tonight, and they have told me that people have been trespassing from that farm onto my property. I cannot see that from the front, from my house. I'm concerned about drugs, alcohol, or whatever being smuggled in and hidden on my property. If there are any drug syringes and they were to hide them on my property and throw them into my pond, would I be responsible for the EPA coming in and saying, James, it's going to cost $50,000 for you to clean up this hazardous waste that you didn't put here. You own the property, you're responsible for it. Is that going to happen? I know not. But I do not use drugs, never have, don't want trespassing on my property, don't want drug use allowed on my, don't want anything, my property used as a cache to hide it. But they have been trespassing on my property. The safety issues, our girls, our sons, our wives, our property, what jeopardy are they going to be in? I can give you 4 simple words that was one evil person. All it took was one evil person to tell a nationwide story. Sandy Hook Elementary School. That is a national story. Just those 4 words. Roughly 1.5 miles from our property is Prospect Road, the Prospect Elementary School. I do not want Prospect Elementary School to be put in a situation where Prospect Elementary School becomes a national tragedy. I don't want that tragedy to happen to our neighbors, to me, to my wife. In conclusion, I would like to read this little simple statement. In order to maintain a peaceful community and to protect our daughters, our sons, our wives, and our properties, I ask that the request for this village that has a high probability of significant trouble be denied.
Hi, my name is George Ho. I live in Oath Anna subdivision for 3 years, and previously lived on Patterson Road in Walden for over 7 years. I'm one of the closest houses, just like that gentleman right there, to 313 Prospect Road location. I'm a husband and a father of a 6-year-old son. He's back there. And I'm sure that everybody in this room who values their family and the security and safety and the well-being of our loved ones, we would do whatever is necessary to ensure the safety of our family. So I travel a lot for work, all right? And one of the questions my clients, wherever they may be, they always ask me, hey, George, where are you from? Right? And then I always say, hey, I'm from Walden, Tennessee. And they look at me, what the heck is that? And I said, well, that's near Knoxville. And then they always look at me and say, why do you live out there? You look like a big city guy. And you know what I say to them? Well, guess what? I live in Wallen because it's gorgeous. I live in Wallen because neighbors are good. I live in Wallen because my wife can go outside, my kids can go outside and play at their leisure because I don't have to worry about all the crimes that's in the big city. I live in Wallen because if I want to leave my car unlocked one day, maybe not the smartest thing, but we'd almost have no crime. Okay? And then they look at me and they look perplexed because they cannot imagine a serene and peaceful area like that. They can't imagine it. However, my life changed 180 degrees, like 7 weeks, because I discovered what moved in the neighborhood. You know, I called my business associates and I told them I'm not going to travel until this is resolved. And my six-year-old son, before we lived in Patterson, play outside all the time. Now, doesn't play outside because we're immediately backed up to the property. My wife usually goes to the porch and reads. Doesn't do that anymore. Now, you see, my wife, she worked at Peninsula Hospital for 5 years, all right? She worked in the latency and adolescent department dealing with kids 4 to 18 years. Now, this division that she worked at is called Level 4. And that, for your edification, there's only one level higher, it's Level 5, and that's Lakeshore. And that is to say that she is seeing every single type of unimaginable horrors committed to children. Drugs, alcohol, sexual, physical, mental abuse. And the hyper majority of the kids that she saw, the problems stem from adults abusing them. Now, so what do I do as a husband? I've added 4 burglar-resistant, shatter-resistant storm doors. I purchased an 8-camera video system. I enhanced my current alarm system. Started conducting mock drills with my 6-year-old son on how to hit the alarm and how to escape and go to my neighbor's house. Now, some say, hey, that's great, George, you live in a fortress now. But guess what, guys? There's only a small, slight wording difference between a fortress and a prison, okay? And both residents live under extreme duress. So I believe in second chances. Everybody in this room believes in second chances. And we pray that the recovery residents get help. But at 313 Prospect Road, it just doesn't have the infrastructure to deal with this type of facility. And I believe the people in this room and our community, you know what? We deserve our first chance. We deserve our first chance to live in a secure and safe neighborhood where you don't have to worry about and live with an 8 video camera system, a burglar-resistant door, and have constant duress of our loved ones being harmed. My wife always complains that I'm passive and non-combative, okay? I don't like confrontations. However, I'm a father now. I can't sit idly by and assume that all will be well with my family, with the drug and alcohol recovery center so close. I believe I speak for all the parents in this room who live close to 313 Prospect Road and saying that if harm comes to our kids, guess what? None of us will have the liberty to tell our kids when they grow up that we were ignorant of the dangers. All of us will regret not fighting hard enough to ensure the safety of our loved ones. And as a concerned and responsible parent, guess what? We're only given one chance. We're not given 2 chances at the safety of our kids. Therefore, board, I urge you to vote against a special exemption at 313 Prospect Road to continue to operate as a drug and alcohol recovery center. When you vote tonight, I want you to vote as if you lived in my house. Your kid can't play in the backyard. Your wife doesn't want to be in the backyard because your wife doesn't want to see 30 to 60 men looking at them later on. And I urge you to vote as the petition the field gave you. Over 300 Blount County residents who signed the petition that feels shell-shocked as we do at a drug and alcohol recovery facility can move so close to the peaceful community. I urge you to vote to maximize the long-term safety and well-being of the 551 kids who attend Prospect Elementary School. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Harry Herman. I'm a resident of Highland Springs community. It's off of Doc Norton Road, about a mile from this facility in question. Our community is made up of a lot of families whose children go to Prospect Elementary. retirees, and empty nesters that are hardworking people. I'm just here as representative of Highland Springs to say that we are unequivocally against this, and we would hope that you would take Highland Springs into consideration. Thank you.
My name is Bobby Smelser. I own a business in Knoxville, Tennessee. Been in business for over 30 years. How many of y'all are Christians? Raise your hand. I've run a business and I've tried to find people to work for me, and in my line of work, which is construction, landscaping, whatever, you find all kinds. They'll lie to you, they'll tell you everything under the sun, and they'll steal from you. I've had over $100,000 worth of things stolen from me in the past. I've worked people from True Purpose Ministries, and I will tell you, look you in your eyes and tell you they've not stole one thing from me. My 3 employees that I have right now are people that came through the program and have recovered. One of them was a UPS truck driver that made as much money as any of you all did, $80,000 a year. He got in a hard place, and he got hooked on drugs by the doctor because of old football injuries. That's how your drugs most of the time get started, people. I'm here to tell you. I'm 55-year-old, and if there's anybody that knows anything about construction, drug abuse, alcohol, it's me. I have 2 kids at my house. These guys
you need to address the board.
These guys have been to my house. They've been to our church. And like I said, I work them. I'd give them the keys to anything I have. I have known anything about no sex offenders that they've ever had. I work these guys personally, and I minister to them, and they were in Knoxville, where they was before, in an old Roach Coach motel, and they was amongst all other kind of drug users in that motel. They found this place. These guys need a place to recover. God says that we're to give people a second chance. I thank God that I found these people to work for me, because I can continue on with my business and not have to worry about who's going to steal from me. I don't have to worry about who's going to do any damage to the people that I work for. I work around $1 million homes. And you're welcome. I'll give you the list of the people that I work for and the builders that I work for that build $500 million homes. And they'll tell you that I've got the best employees that I've ever had. And they'll tell you that they've never taken a thing from them. I've had these guys in these people's houses that I work with, because a lot of my customers will invite us in. They'll give us something to drink, and they tell me how polite these people are. These people are not who you think they are. They're not people that have come up in a rough situation and laid there. These are people that was successful at one time, and something happened, you know, whether it was a divorce, marriage, whether they got hooked on drugs by the doctors, and we all know it. And as far as theft goes, you look at the records at the courthouse, you'll find that most of your thefts in your community are from the people within the community or someone you know. I know this for a fact. I've experienced it several times. You may not want them in your community, but guys, you got to have a heart. You know, they're not going to harm your kids. If somebody harms your kids, it's going to be somebody that knows you or somebody that's going to come from the outside. I'll tell you. You know, that's just the way it is. But if you push these people out, then, you know, I wouldn't want to call myself a Christian if I wouldn't give somebody an opportunity. You know, I would not do it, because God says what did Christ like? You know, who did Jesus go to? He didn't go to the rich and the wealthy and all those that had it made. He went to the poor and the needy. I'm not rich, but I can get by every day, and I thank God for it. And if I wanted to buy a home in your community, I could tell you right now, I could go purchase it and not have to worry about it. But here's the thing about it. I open my heart up to these guys, and I work them. Well, you say what you want to, lady, but I work them until you experience it firsthand. Don't judge them, because before someday, every one of you will stand before God, and you'll be judged, not by me, but by God. So think about it. We are the land of opportunity. Give people a second chance. Give them a place in the country where that they can grow crops, where they can learn trades, where they can learn something different than what they were in, because they can't go back to what they were. If they go back to what they were, they will most likely go back into the same position. Thank you.
Yes, I hadn't planned to talk this evening, but after hearing things, I feel impressed to speak. I'm a Christian as well, and I think
Can you tell
many
us your
of us
name,
are
please?
here. My name is John Helly, and I live right there in the subdivision. I can look right over and see the beautiful facility there. We chose that same area because it's beautiful. It's out in the country. You don't have to worry about people going to come and steal or do anything else. I have a 6-year-old daughter who goes out, likes to play. I don't have to worry about her being outdoors, somebody coming by, doing something. Just to speak about this brother who was just sharing these words a moment ago, I think as a Christian, which I can speak for myself, we all have heart. We all know the gospel of helping people. But Jesus does not ask us to put something like that right next to children and homes, that close. So the subject or the issue here is not whether this should happen. I think it's well that people should have places where they can go, that they can improve and get better. We should just not put that real close to a elementary school or close to children right there with the homes. If you haven't had a chance to actually drive there and see how close it is, I mean, I can walk there, I mean, in a couple minutes or less. I mean, it's just right there. So I think we need to think about the real issue here is not whether these individuals or someone else should be able to help people out. I think we're all gung-ho. We want to help people out. We just don't want it right there next to our subdivision. It's going to be a bad decision. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Pam Thompson, and I am the president of the Skyview subdivision, which sits off of Bowling Road, and we are just across the field from the facility. I am here tonight to urge you to vote no, mainly because, as like a lot of these people have shared, it's an area full of kids. Safety is a concern. It's just one of those things that I'm not willing to risk for my kids and the kids in my subdivision. So please vote no.
My name's Roy Reagan, and now this guy was up here for this thing. I want to tell him, I ain't going to threaten him, but I'll promise him, if they put that in up there and some of my people gets hurt, he's the one that's aimed to hurt too. Now that's my final say.
Hi, my name is Paul Smith. I also live over in the Oathana subdivision. I think that one thing that I want to point out, first off, I'm a father of a newborn. He's only a month and a half old, and he deserves the opportunity to grow up in a safe, healthy home. That means being outside, being able to enjoy where he is. I don't believe that's going to happen with the rehab facility being open there. Let's look at it just from a strictly practical point of view. Practically speaking, you said that they had to fence off and obscure from view the entire rehab facility. Was that correct? Because if it is correct, it means that you're also destroying our view. You're going to be wrecking our property values. That is not acceptable. So, besides the emotional burden that I feel, making sure that my family is safe, there's also a practical side that I really hope you are paying attention to as well. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Shane Lonis, and I kind of come here, I'm not a resident of Blount County. Last year, up until February, I was a resident up in Floyd, Virginia at a long-term recovery program called Eagle's Nest. And to be honest, I could see before everything happened to me, I'm just giving you a brief summary of kind of my testimony here. About 10 years ago, I chose an escape. I went through a bunch of hard times. I do not have a criminal record. I do not have a speeding ticket. I come across some hard times about 10 years ago. Around that time, I chose an escape. I'd given up, and I looked for something else, and it was alcohol. And up about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago, it was excessive. That is the darkest hole that I've ever been in, and my heart is absolutely about to be ripped out. I chose to go. Have you ever had a phone call that when I made a phone call after I'd reached that hole, that dark pit, and up in Floyd, Virginia, recommended by some friends, and they accepted me up there, said if they had a bed up there, if I was willing to go. And once you admit that defeat, I mean, there's nothing, I can't, until you've been there. I was ready, I had accepted I was going to die. I mean, I had just accepted it. Going up there is my choice. It wasn't required by law. It is very similar to the program they lead here. I'm involved with some recovery and everything in church to help other people that was in my spot. Like I said, I wouldn't have made it another week. My enzymes were outrageous, horrible. There, I met, or I was reintroduced to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and that it goes beyond religion. It was a relationship with Him, and He brought me out of it. But it took me to surrender to Him. The reason I'm coming, one thing that I have really grown to appreciate is life. I've came back. I graduated in February. It was 11 months. I left to go away from my family, away from my dog, pride, to get better. I would have died. And I was given so much more. And to be honest, I don't know how I would have handled a program coming into my area before. I mean, I don't know. It never hit me. I can tell you that they had the same problems there with their program. They were put out from their neighbors, and they left. But the Lord provided another area that was even better. But with that, He said, and I'm here, I haven't visited their facility. I know the brothers there. There was probably more drugs in this room than there ever was at the Eagle's Nest. The people that go there know that they have a problem and they want off of it to save their lives. They want off of it. They're not there shooting up. They're there bawling their eyes out because they know how close they came. And like I said, I mean, this is really, hearing some of this, it blows my mind. But like I said, with gratitude, I'm thankful for everything now. And this has opened my eyes, and I thank everybody here because the Lord opened up so many ways. And I haven't thanked the ones in that neighborhood that allowed that program to come in for saving my life, having a hand in it. You all have no idea the gift that you all can give these guys. I have no idea. And I hope and pray it's nobody in your family that needs them. But chances are it is. I love everybody here, and I understand. We all have homes, and I don't know where I would have been had it been a year and a half ago. And that's really all I wanted to say. It was just on my heart to share. And thank you all.
My name is Mike Pearson. I live at 403 Bowling Road.
I can honestly tell you at this moment, my emotions are kind of all over the place because the job that I have on a daily basis is I run the education program for the Blount County school system in the juvenile detention center. As of yesterday, from January 1 until yesterday, we had 192 kids. 25 to 30% of those 192 have been repeat offenders. Now, I have been in this job for 7 years. And there have been years that there have been 900 to 1,000 kids go through our juvenile detention center. Now, a juvenile runs until the age of 19. I can tell you today that many of those have been in our, what I call big boy jail, because they've not been able to get off. They've been put in programs, they've been sent to rehab, they've not been able to get off. I applaud these men for wanting to get off of drugs and alcohol. I really do. But our community is not the place to do that. I don't know for certain, but I think I probably have more at stake here than anybody does. This farm borders me on the right-hand side, 900 feet. It borders me on the back side, approximately 600 feet. I wake up every morning, walk out on my deck, I see the beauty looking down that valley. We have recently started a produce business on our little 10-acre farm. I have a 16-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son, and a 20-year-old daughter. One day, one of them came to me and said, "Daddy," said, "who's this man out here on the back side of the property?" Well, I went out, and he wasn't on my property. He was on the Sunnybrook farm property. And I just got to watching, and I said, "I don't know, honey." Well, you see, we lived over off of Ellajoy up until 2 years ago. Our house got broke into twice. I had an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old sleeping at the foot of my bed for 3 weeks because they had come in, gone into their drawers, pulled out their girly clothes. They wouldn't go back to their bedrooms. And she came to me and she said, "Daddy, I've never seen these people over here. What's going on?" If anybody should have known there was something going on, it should have been me, because I can see the entire facility. But all I could tell you is there was work going on over there. I knew that the place had been for sale, so I just assumed somebody had bought it. I was out back disking, and I had seen this gentleman jogging the fence line every day. I assumed it was a son, or it may have even been the man who bought the property. So I stopped my tractor, got off, went over to the fence line, hollered at him and stopped him and introduced myself. Very nice gentleman. And he told me what was going on. I asked him before we finished, I said, "I would like to talk to whoever's in charge. So if you can take that message." He said, "Well, he'll be here tomorrow." I'm yet to hear from Mr. Graham. But as far as Christians go, we all want these men to be successful. But the Lord put me in the position that I'm in to be a father and to be a husband. And there is only one thing that I have to do in this world, and that is to disciple those people and to protect them. I do not own a gun. I will not own a gun unless I just have to. I don't want it to get to that. But our community is not the place for it. But I can tell you that my daughters and my young son have mentioned to me that they are scared. They can literally go out to the back and get to a place to where I can't see them. But yet somebody on the back side of the property could. So fellas, I just ask you, we can't have this in our community.
because we've got too much at stake, and I am willing to die for the safety of my children and my wife. So I would ask you to vote no.
Is there anyone else in opposition?
Thank you, gentlemen. Having a little throat trouble here, allergies, I guess. I am Commissioner Roy Gamble, District 8, C-Day. I am opposed to this also, and I can't say it any better than it's already been said. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rob Webb. I am the elected school board member for District 1, which includes this area in Prospect. We have a school, I may have mismeasured, but using the odometer on my car, driveway to driveway is 1.2 miles from the facility that's in question here today. I, along with one of the county commissioners, went and toured this facility a couple of days ago. I was very impressed with the facility. I can tell you I've lived here all my life and I've never been on that farm. And absolutely beautiful, nice place. It's still a beautiful, nice place there. I got to meet with Pastor Jeremy and some of the staff there, and there's no question in my mind that their hearts are in the right place. They're trying to do the right things for these gentlemen they have in their program. However, with that said, I also live in the community. I live in Fox Run subdivision, and one of the things that I was most concerned about is the fact that there are people there that are multiple offenders. They have been in and out several times and have tried to get their lives straight, but simply have been unable to do that. They've also got people there that have never been convicted of anything and just chosen to come there on their own and try to get their life straightened out, whether it's drinking or whether it's something unrelated to drugs and alcohol at all. It is an impressive program, no question about that, in my opinion. However, we built our school there, and I served on the construction committee that built that school. It's one of the safest schools that you will find anywhere. I won't publicly go into some of the security at that building, but we don't have it anywhere else in this county and probably nowhere else in the immediate area in East Tennessee. It is a safe facility. We put in tornado shelters, we put in duress systems for our teachers. There's a lot of safety built into that school. However, there's also times that the school is very vulnerable. I won't go into the times that is, but the school has some very vulnerable times. We have an SRO there. She's absolutely top of the line. However, her hours are limited there also. And she's there from a time in the morning to the time in the afternoon. And after that time, the school is obviously like any other or any other public place. There's no law enforcement on site, and we're depending on the patrol officers out in the community. In the evenings, we run an aftercare program there at that school where we have a very small, limited staff with a lot of children. After the principal's gone, the SRO's gone, and a lot of those parents have a lot of concerns, including myself. It's a great program. I don't question the motives of these folks. There's some issues with the roads there. There's some issues with the response from Maryville when a real emergency would occur there. But the biggest concern I have is our school is simply too close to this facility. My home is too close to this facility. I'm concerned about the children at Otheana that are literally butting up to that facility. And while we all hope and pray that those gentlemen get their lives straight, and we hope that they're there for the right reasons, there's that risk that they're not. And as the gentleman that runs the juvenile center here for our school department told you, I'm not willing to risk that, and our school can't risk that. I beg you to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Ron French. I am the 9th District Commissioner in Seat A. My district abuts the, I believe, 8th District that this facility is applying for a special exception. And I feel compelled to speak. And again, like the gentleman that was here before, I have mixed emotions. You heard Mr. Webb speak earlier. I am the commissioner that went with him and visited this facility. It is a beautiful spot in the community. It really is. And I spoke with the staff, with Pastor Jeremy, Matt, and Tyson. And I really, in my heart, feel that they have the best interest of their clientele at heart. I believe that. I had a gentleman call me today and gave me a glowing reference for the school. However, with that being said, I represent the people of my community. I'm not so sure I can agree with some of our zoning regulations. In section 5, on page 5, it states, and I realize that we're talking about a non-conforming use here when there's a change in a non-conforming use. But I feel like if it's in our regulations for a non-conforming use, it ought to concern a conforming use also, which this is. It's a conforming use because it is granted in a special exception. And it states, in addition to uses specifically permitted in a zone by this resolution, a non-conforming use may be changed to another use in the same buildings and at the same site. Now, I think we can change that non-conforming to conforming, provided that such use is approved as a special exception, which it is, by the Board of Zoning Appeals under Section 11.5 hereof, and the Board of Zoning Appeals finds that such use is of lesser impact than the original non-conforming use or conforming use. Let's use conforming. A lesser impact. And that's a bone of contention with me, because the use that was being used at that facility before was a special event, bread and breakfast, or I think they had wedding ceremonies, and this probably once or twice a month, possibly. And we're talking maybe 40, 50, 60 people at one time. The problem that may arise here is we've got, I believe there's 25 residents there now, and this septic system is going to be used every day. It's going to put a tax, it's going to tax that septic system to handle 25 uses, 25 showers. And speaking with the environmental department earlier in the week, Mr. Ferguson expressed these concerns. There's some problems with the geology in that area, and they have had some problems with the septic system. So I feel like it was mentioned earlier, I think, by Mr. Fields, that those were some concerns that he had, and if you approve this, then he'll have to go over and inspect the facility, and that's kind of putting the cart before the horse. I think you need to inspect that facility first, and then possibly, if you see fit, to grant the extension. But I'm here, I'm opposed to the special exception because I have to represent the people in my district. There are some other bones of contention I have, but it'd take me probably another 30 minutes to go through them. But I've got them listed here that I think you need to look at, and I'll be glad to go over those with you at possibly after the meeting or before you decide. But again, I have to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Gentlemen, we appreciate the opportunity to come before you and to share some things. And
Can you
I
tell
think
us
for
your
the
name,
first
please?
time in my life, I have come to realize.
Sir, can you tell us your name, please?
I'm sorry, Jerry Graham. I am Pastor Jeremy's dad. And I think for the first time in my life, I have come to understand the difficulty in defending in an impossible situation. In 1998, I retired from the United States Army as chaplain. Went back to my hometown in Piedmont, Alabama, started a church. And after about 2.5 years in that church, deciding that the whole purpose of starting that church was to change a community, I realized all of a sudden that we were not changing a community. We were ministering to the well-to-do. We were ministering to the middle class. We were ministering to people that would come in off the streets and visit us and decide to stay with us, but we were not touching the drug problem in Piedmont, Alabama. And I know that this is Tennessee. But it was there that in a meeting we decided, a few of us, to do something about the drug culture. And so we started a Mothers Against Meth on a Monday evening, and then on Tuesday evening we started an Overcomers program. And through that, I got to know a fellow pastor about 20 or 30 miles away from my hometown there that had on his heart to start a recovery ministry. And so we talked, and so on the 26th of July, 2004, we started the Center of Hope in Anniston, Alabama. And from Anniston, Alabama, I retired, came up to Kodak, Tennessee in 2005. Latter part of 2005. In 2006, I was the one to start the ministry at New Hope that has been referred to on Highway 66, and worked there for several years. And it was there that Pastor Jeremy was introduced in the recovery ministry. And so from there, he feels a need to go into Knoxville. And I'm retiring again, but helping him with this. And what's the bottom line of all this that I'm saying? Is that what I've heard tonight, I understand that it's perceptions. And I understand that perceptions can become reality, at least in a person's heart. And I understand that, and I'm guilty of that. But these guys have gotten a bad rap. And let me say to you that from 2004 and since even before then and since then up until this date, I've got about 12 years of experience in recovery ministry, Christ-centered recovery ministry. And I can tell you that in the 3 facilities that I've worked in, there's not been one single guy that has gone out of that facility and off of that property to harm anybody in that neighborhood. Now let me say that again. Not one single guy. And I am a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and there is nothing more important to me than truth. And I'm telling you the truth. Not one single guy. We do not have a sex offender. We do not have anybody that is capable of shooting up a school. But I'm saying to you, we have people that want to get off of drugs. I made a statement about 5 years ago and really caught havoc from it as a result of it from a pastor. And this statement is this, that recovery ministries, and I'm talking about Christ-centered ministries, and churches are incompatible. Not because of a different gospel that we preach, not because of a different truth that we proclaim, but it's because that church people don't understand the drug culture. And people who are committed to it, people who are called to it, people who are willing to endure the inconsistencies and willing to endure all the contradictions that are wrought in a life that is trying to get off of drugs, then these are the people that understand it. These are good guys. But I also understand the fear of families. And personally, if I feared, man, it would be tough. I understand all of that. But I'm just asking, let's get the facts. Let's do the research. Let's talk to professionals who have worked in the addiction recovery ministry, in the Christ-centered ministries, and see what some percentages are. Those that graduate from this course and other good courses like this, there is a 73% success rate. And how do we define success? It is 5 years clean in a church, loving family, bringing family back together, and being a contributing member of society. Those are the potentials right there. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in favor or opposition who would like to speak?
Hello, my name's Deborah Smith. I live in Foxfire subdivision in Blount. I have a first-hand situation with this. I raised 2 stepchildren that in their teenage years chose to go and live with their mother, whose male adult in that situation had boys that were in jail. And of course, you know, they learned from their peers. Both of them were on crack cocaine, both of them were on marijuana, you name it. My husband and I would send money to them. Every bit of money they claim it was for, oh, well, we really need food this week, or we really need an apartment this week. They wouldn't work. We tried everything in the world we could do to get these boys off. Finally, we had to turn them over to the Lord. We had to pray for them and say, God, they're yours. They straightened themselves up. They're both married. They have jobs. They're no longer doing these things. But it didn't take a facility. It didn't take, because they were involved in all of that. One of them went to jail. I just don't know what else to say. But they learned from each other. And I told one of them one time how I had some work done from these very nice people that were in this drug facility down here in Tennessee. And the oldest boy looked at me and said, nice? Oh yeah, we're taught to be nice. If we're nice, that means we've got an in way to get into your situation. We can case up your house. We can break in, steal. You hear all the time about these home invasions coming on in other neighborhoods that are close to homeless people. You know, I love them. I'm a Christian too. But the thing of it is you've got to have a place of sanctuary. You've got to have your home where you feel safe at night. If you forget to, I'm old, if I forget to close my garage door, I don't have to worry about somebody breaking in. A neighbor came and knocked on it and said, ma'am, your door's open, closed it. You know, but other than that, I feel like as if you have to have a little place that you can run to where you don't have to worry about stuff like that. That's all. Thank you.
My name's Stan Grubb. I grew up in this county, and something I've been thinking about as I've heard others speak was, I think this lady said the word sanctuary. And I got to thinking about safety and security and the type of culture and society that we live in. Like I said, I grew up here, was a long-time resident here, but for 20 years I lived in Fort Worth. One Wednesday night, a gunman walked into our sanctuary and unloaded on several of our congregants. Several died. If there was any one place that you would think would be safe, it would be the house of God. but that night it wasn't safe. And I'm just trying to make a point that I don't know of any safe place, totally safe. You know, my dad, who pastored in this county for several years, had some words of wisdom one time, and he told me, he said, son, there are no guarantees in this world. And I thought, you know what, he's right. And I can't make any guarantees, but I will tell you that one thing that I progressed through my professional career, educated, like the gentleman before, I hit some hard times. And if you would have ever told me that I'd be looking at rehab centers and trying to detox off of alcohol, I would have said, you're crazy, I'll never be there. But I found myself there. And I remember talking to a friend one day thinking, you know, it would be great if there was something local that I could have went to. But through a turn of events and the sovereignty of God, I ended up at True Purpose. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. People that know me and know my history will tell you that. I can't explain it. And I'm not perfect. I mean, I've made mistakes, but I'm not the same man I used to be. And I owe it to that program. But the point I want to make is there are no safe venues anymore. And although I'd like to make guarantees that this venue, nothing will ever happen, I can't do that. I'm not God. But I'll tell you this, it's some of the neatest guys I've ever experienced in my life, and the fellowship and the brotherhood is something that I think we need. And unless we go straight to the battle lines and fight it there, I don't know how to make a difference in our culture other than that. And I know that that's something I feel called to do and called to help out in. But I just want to go on record as wanting to be for it. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Josh Dalton. There hadn't been a lot of us stand up here, but I am one of the success stories that made it. And thank God there are people who know what love is and know how to show it in a way that can change your life around. And you know, I think that the best lesson that I ever learned being at True Purpose was that we're all people. That same God that died for you died for us miserable lowlifes at one time too. For all of us. We're all in this together. You know, we're all supposed to have compassion. And the thing is, I just want to say, you know, what if it was your son or your daughter or your granddaughter? What if somebody denied them the opportunity to get help when God was calling them and they knew that was a place they needed to be? What would you do? It's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me with the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. I love and I have compassion for all the people that have varied opinions on this subject. But the thing is we worry so much in this life about things that can happen instead of trying to take care of what we know we can control. And that's love, how to show patience, how to treat people right. And when we do that, that's the battles we ultimately win. And I thank God for True Purpose, and I'm definitely in favor because it helped shape my life, helped make me the man that I am today. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
My name's Rhonda Gripjack. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but after hearing everybody, it's just, I think I've had an eye-opening that I guess I thought that everybody loved True Purpose and loved the help that my son received there. I never approached them with fear. Hearing everybody, the fear in their voices about him, it's just sort of stunned me. My son went to True Purpose. He graduated from there. My husband and I have stayed on and helped. We're on the board there. I have never once, not one time, seen any man wander off, any violence, just politeness, a love for the Lord. These men are in classes. They are learning about Jesus and about love. They're not concerned about going out and harming anybody in these neighborhoods. They want to help them. They have talked about helping, doing things to help the community, not hurt the community. That has never, ever been any thought process of theirs. We all just want to help. When my son was fighting addiction for years, I called many, many, many places in Tennessee. I was met with, we'd be glad to help your son if you'll give us $6,000 down and $6,000 when he leaves. Well, most people who are in this shape don't have that. They don't have that. We need a place for people to go and learn about God. That is the best thing that can keep people off the streets, keep them from doing this. The other morning I was getting ready for work, I heard that the Blount County jails are overflowing. There's nowhere to put them. All these people. Wouldn't it be good to have a facility that maybe can help some of these that are on drugs and alcohol? I mean, to me, that makes more sense than I don't know where people want them to go. They say, not in my neighborhood, not in my home, not in my town. Where are they supposed to go? To an island? I mean, where? Where? If we don't open our hearts and our places, our land, they're not wanting to go wandering around hurting anybody at all. They just want to have a better life. That's all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cammie Cromer. I just wanted to come and express to you my sincere gratitude to this program. This program saved my brother's life. He was at the end, and this program lifted him up, taught him how to be a good person. Like she was talking about earlier, we would call every place that we could to try to get him in. It was $20,000. It was no, not until this, or always was opposition. But this program will take these men in for $200. That's all that it costs. And they teach them the value of hard work and the value of being good, God-loving people. I understand everyone's concern for their safety and it being in their neighborhood. I'm telling you, if my house were big enough, I'd have every single one of these men in my home because they are fabulous, fabulous people. So I understand, but I wanted everybody to know that this is a good program, and these are good guys, and I just love them.
My name is Maxine Raines. I've had surgery on my eyes. The reason I've got glasses on. And I'm the executive director of Lost Sheep Ministry in Knoxville. And I have sent people all over this country to everything you can think of. And I have never been a part of this. I stand up the ones I've sent. Guys, come on. Okay, and I've got them all over the country, but I send them here all the time because this is a Christian rehab. You can call it what you want to, but they're changing lives. And I'll have them to come back and work with me. And I'm telling you, this is one of the most wonderful programs. And let me tell you about this. They've been in a place that a rat wouldn't live, trying to get these guys to change their lives and to help them to do that. God opened the door for this beautiful place. These are dads. These are brothers. They're husbands. And they deserve a chance. And I understand about your children. I have children. I've got grandchildren. And that's the most wonderful, secluded place that could ever be. And I know I have children, but I came up on the street 9 years, 6 to 15. I'm 76 years old. I worked in this. My dad was an alcoholic. My husband was an alcoholic. And I'm seeing things you would never believe. And I can't change your mind, but I want you to know that you should be welcoming these people. And I mean that with all my heart. I'm a Christian. And I wouldn't do what I'm doing, but God sent me back where I came from. And they deserve to have a good place.
You need to be addressing the board, please.
I'm sorry. I'm used to preaching more than I am anything, so forgive me. But I want you all to know you should be welcoming these people here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susan Chinati. I live in the Skyview subdivision. I am not opposed to these people getting help. That's terrific. I don't feel that this is about religion. I think a lot of religion has been brought into this tonight. I think it should be clear to the facts that I'm not opposed to them getting help. I'm opposed to the location. It is way too close to a school. I come from Connecticut, very close to Sandy Hook School. I know people up there. I know how they felt with their children. I have friends that were there. I just feel that I am very close to the situation. I moved here to be in a safe neighborhood with good people where you can keep your doors open and unlocked. And I, like the other gentleman who spoke earlier today, I do a lot of gardening. And at this point, I do not go outdoors by myself unless my dog is with me. And I will tell you, if this goes through, I will go in for a gun permit, I will get one, and I will do whatever I have to keep myself safe.
I think we've had a pretty good representation of both sides, but we'll open up the floor for discussion from the board.
I appreciate you taking the time to hear one more. My name is Joe Holquist. I don't live in Blount County. I live in Knoxville. I was born and raised right here in Maryville. Most of my family is still here in Blount County. But I really would like to speak to this board in the context of someone, who knows something about True Purpose Ministries, but also someone who understands the shoes that you have to fill. I served on the Knoxville City's Board of Zoning Appeals for 5 years in the early 90s. Subsequently, I was elected to Knoxville City Council and served 8 years. We have term limits, so I served the 2 terms and finished my time there. And Knoxville's different. The BZA's decisions in Knoxville can be appealed to City Council, to the legislative body, which is fairly unique. So not only did I deal with BZA issues while I was on BZA, but subsequently I've dealt with BZA issues as a member of council, the legislative body, which of course is not the case here. I understand that. Let me back up and say that I have a history that I've never been addicted to drugs, but I was in a rebellious phase very early in my life at 18. I sold a single tablet of LSD and a small bag of marijuana. And because of the time and the circumstances, I received a 5 to 6 year sentence and spent 1.5 years in the state prison as a result of that. John Gill, who's the deputy Attorney General in Knox County, serves under Randy Nichols, Attorney General, was the one that prosecuted me, and he's told me since then that if it had happened since then or before then, either one, that what happened to me, I wouldn't have suffered those consequences. That's not the issue. I see God's hand in everything that's happened to me, and I don't fault anybody for any decisions that they've made, and I did wrong at that time, and I suffered serious consequences. I learned a lot in the process, as you can imagine, going through what I experienced. But subsequently, I was given a second chance. I was given an opportunity to say, I want to turn my life around. Otherwise, I would not have served on the BZA. I would not have been elected. And the voters in Knoxville knew about that felony conviction. It was, believe me, my opponent made it known. And so it was well known. And the voters of the city of Knoxville, and we run citywide for city council in the general election. So the entire city, all the voters that came out in 2001, the majority of those said, we believe in you, we want you to serve on our city council in spite of what your past was, because we don't believe that's what you're about today. That's the way I read that decision. I don't see how it could be read otherwise. Let me go back to my sympathies and empathy with your position, having to make the decision that you've got before you. It's a difficult decision because you have a tremendous number of people that are in the community around this facility that are opposed to this use and the presence of True Purpose in that facility. And I've heard their concerns. I've sat here and listened to all the statements that have been made. And I will say that I've gotten just more or less recently, I'll back up. I'm part of a prayer group that meets in South Knoxville, and Jeremy Graham and some of the others involved in True Purpose Ministries have come from time to time to participate in that group. So that's the way I initially got to know them. But since then, I've gotten more involved because I took on the responsibility as a volunteer. In fact, I introduced them to the opportunity of grant writing. Well, more or less, I put it in front of them, the grant opportunity from a Christian foundation, a new Christian foundation in Knoxville. So I basically wrote a grant proposal for them. In doing so, I had an opportunity to spend more time with them, dig in, find out more about the ministry and how they operate. But I'll tell you that the positive statements that those people that are aware of this operation, this organization made, I think are completely accurate based on my assessment that this is an organization that is exemplary. It changes people's lives. They're very careful on who they take, and just because they have a court order doesn't mean they have to take them. They get to choose who they take, and those people that come under court order still are the ones that say, no, we want to go there. So they're very careful about what they do, to a fault. Now, how this was handled on the front end, I think in hindsight, everybody would say it could have been handled differently and probably in a better way in terms of introducing themselves to the community. They were under a lot of duress and moving, so they had to make some decisions. They had to move ahead, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. And I think they thought there was a mistaken impression that it wasn't an issue like it turned out to be. Now, getting back to the decision that's before you, what I would recommend if I were in your shoes is the way we often handle it, both on the city BZA in Knoxville and then on city council, is we would say if there's any way, we would look at, you have two opposing sides, and that's one of the unfortunate things about the way these processes, that our governmental processes are structured. When you have opposing sides, each side tries to kind of get the critical mass, the biggest push, hit the hardest and knock the other one out. And those of you that are in the position, and as I was, to make those decisions have to try to work your way through that. And it really does demand the wisdom of Solomon in a lot of ways. But what I would suggest and propose to you is that you give the two sides an opportunity to talk to each other. Because they're not talking to each other tonight. They're talking against each other. Well, especially the opposition. And there's a lot of there are legitimate concerns in the opposition, but there are a lot of concerns and a lot of information that's inaccurate too, based on my knowledge. So I would suggest that you might consider postponing and let them, with the understanding, the mandate that they do that. A public meeting, let them talk. Now that may not change anything. Right now it sounds like there's tremendous community opposition and a desire for them to move. And what I would say to you, and parenthetically to the people in the community, is if you are adamant that these people move, and you say that it's based on your values, including if you're Christian values, then help them, because they are your neighbors. Even if it's on a temporary basis, they are your neighbors. And Scripture tells us to love our neighbors. And so how do you do that? Well, how can you help them? Well, figure that out. If they need to move, help them figure out where they need to move. Because I will tell you, and a couple of speakers have said this, the same thing will happen anywhere else. You know, we don't want them, not in our backyard. Well, guess what? Nobody else is going to want them either. So you, as the Board of Zoning Appeals of Blount County, if you say, good things you're doing, but you can't do it here, that's an understandable decision if you make that decision. But a valuable step for everybody involved, from the good of our community, from the good of our society, from the people that this program is supposed to serve, from the people in the community that have fears and concerns, and the sense of fairness and moral justice, is to try to structure something where we find a solution. Creatively, problem solving, find a solution. If people are opposed to it, engage those people if they're willing. If they're really sincere and say, this is a good program, we just don't want it here, help us find a place to move this operation that will work, where the same concerns don't exist. And I would challenge you that I think it's going to exist anywhere. People just say, we don't want them in our backyard, send them somewhere else. Well, guess what? That's going to be somebody else's backyard. So find a creative solution. If you make a decision tonight, that opportunity won't be here. So what I would suggest to you is a postponement with instructions to, you can't tell people what to do, but to say to all the parties involved, we would like for you to see if you can find an alternative solution. It could be moving, it can be in another county, whatever. But don't just throw them out. Give everybody an opportunity to work through, to come with a win-win solution, rather than zero sum, you win, you lose. Is that fair? Is that scriptural? Find me a place in the New Testament that shows the solution being arrived at on that basis, and I'll eat crow. But I don't believe it's in there. So thank you, board members, for your time.
I don't think that we should have to go by what Knox County does. Now, I've said that many a time. And if that's the way this your group votes to go with Knox County, you ain't part of Blount County. And wait till election time.
Okay, we'll open up the floor to discussion with the board.
I got some questions of the administrators of the facility.
Sir?
Some of the questions, in reading through some of the literature that we have here, you were at 2 locations in Knoxville.
Yes, sir.
What happened there?
Well, the first location that you probably saw was 3617 Chapman Highway. That was where our thrift store was. And that was a big part on why we changed our name. I know that's been, a lot of discussion on why we changed our name, but our name with the government and the state was New Hope Recovery, True Purpose Recovery Center and Thrift Store. All right. When we closed the thrift store at 3617 Chapman Highway, that's not where we lived. We lived at 8623 Walbrook. And as we closed the thrift store, we really didn't need that name anymore on the federal and the state files, so we changed our name to True Purpose Ministries. But we lived at 8623 Walbrook. 3617 was just where we had our thrift store.
Did you have people housed at your facility in Knoxville, the first location? Or were there people housed at the thrift store also?
No, sir. No,
So
just housed at 8623 Walbrook.
What happened? Well, what happened to change you from that location to the other location?
Which location, sir?
You were on Chapman Highway, I think.
Well, yeah, that was that was the thrift store. That was there at and that was what was basically on the website and everything. That's where we got our mail and all that kind of stuff. Nobody lived on Chapman Highway. That was just a thrift store. We lived at 8623.
So you lived there. Were there people from the facility living there also?
At 8623 Walbrook, yes, sir.
How many were there?
We've had about 40 men at one time.
And what happened that you're not still there?
We came to Prospect Road.
For any reason?
Why? Because, I mean, where we were living, I mean, we've been looking, our vision was a farm, to be able to farm and be self-supported, to get out and, grow corn and grow crops and all that kind of stuff, and basically be self-sufficient, plus teach the men on how to farm and other trades, and basically just have that environment to where it's not in the city.
When you located that facility, did you get permits and all that to start that kind of operation there? Or did you have problems with the
No, we didn't have any
County?
problems with, no, no, sir.
Why did you come into Blount County unknowingly to everybody and start up when there's a procedure that you should have gone through?
Well, and I apologize for that. I do, but my understanding. I apologize for that once again, but my understanding was that it was already. I didn't know that it was zoned R1. I had no idea. My understanding that it was zoned commercial because of what was already going on there. So that was the reason that we really didn't feel like there was anything, because there was already commercial stuff going on there, and that's what we understood. And it wasn't that we tried to come into the community and sneak into the community. We didn't mean to do that at all. We just thought that it was a commercial property, and we didn't know that there was any kind of procedure that we had to go through.
Who funds it?
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ funds it.
What happened from the 150 men you originally proposed to have back to 50 or 60? How come you reduced it back down?
We were in the original vision. We were looking to have a 100 to 150 acre farm. We were looking to have a lot bigger facility. But as we've moved here, we know that that's just not. That's not understood. I mean, it's not capable. So, we are looking to possibly go to about 60 men. But it was only because we were looking at a big facility, 100 to 150 acres. That was our original vision. Now what we plan on doing is just going to about 60, but then stopping at that and going to other places and starting other ones to grow the numbers.
Does the ministry own the facility?
No, sir. We were leasing with the option to buy.
How long have you been in operation out there now?
At Prospect?
Yes.
I'm believing about 2.5 months.
Okay. And in that time, has there been any problems with the community?
No, sir.
Any legal problems with the community?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any other discussion from the board?
Well, one of the things you have to look at is Aristotle taught us that we must make decisions based on logic and not emotions. So when I look over section 1.5, there are some areas in there that make this, it takes emotions out of it and asks those questions like, can the construction or establishment of this special exemption will, which is a definitive term, materially endanger the public health or safety? We talked about school issues tonight, correct? So once again, there's not been any problems or anything with the school or anything out there?
No, sir.
How closely are you located to the school?
I don't know. I know somebody at the councilman or the commissioner said, I think 1.2 miles is what he clocked on his, but I have not clocked it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board?
Has there been any discussion of this issue in the county commissioners meeting?
No.
So we don't know whether the county commissioners support having this time of help for people in Blount County or not.
It's a special exception request that's the responsibility of the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's not a legislative decision.
My question was whether or not the county commissioners think there's a need to help these type of people in Blount County. That was my question.
I can't answer that question.
Okay. Well, I got one more. If we decide that this is not a location, how do you first decide that these men need help? And if this 59-acre location is not acceptable, then where would you find an acceptable location?
Most all the zones in the county list this as a special exception. The suburbanizing zone does, the R1, R2. It may be just a permitted use in the commercial zone, but most of the zones do allow it. The R1 suburbanizing and R2, I know, allow it through this process as a special exception.
So they could go to a different zoning area in Blount County and not require an exemption?
I'd have to look at the commercial zone, but it would probably only be in the commercial zone, I would think.
Commercial zone.
Yeah.
Have you all, I got a question. Have you all sat down and talked about this?
Both sides?
Both sides.
No, sir. We would like that opportunity. I mean, we would. I don't know.
There's no other discussion on the board. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. This is a big issue, and it's a big issue that's dropped on us within a 2-week period of time. It's one that shouldn't have been dropped on us. It's something that affects not only the community, but the whole county, whole area probably. Roger had issued a cease and desist order, I think. I make a move that we uphold Roger's cease and desist order, meaning we deny your deal right now. And if you want to come back and go through the regular procedures of presenting it to the county and getting environmental permits and all this and that, see what happens, come back that way. But I make a move that we deny the special exception based on the fact that it hadn't been talked about in the county. This is something that affects the whole county.
Stander, you saying you want to defer, or you want to
No, I
just
don't
deny
want to
the special
defer.
exception?
Don't defer. I want to deny it, and then if they want to come back and go through regular procedures, can't do that. I make a motion to deny.
If you make a motion if you make a motion, it gets a second, and it gets approved, then you made a ruling, and the only avenue from that would be to jurisdictional ruling on your decision. You can't hear the same request twice.
Okay. Based on that, I make a motion that we deny.
Is there a second?
Second.
Andy.
Andy Allen?
Yes.
Larry Chesney?
No.
Bruce Damrow?
No.
Stanley Hedrick?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes.
Motion to deny was approved.
Thank you, man.
Next special exception tonight. Request for motorcycle parts, cafe, and light manufacturing business on 411 South. Roger,
Okay, the next special exception is for a request for a retail showroom, cafe / light manufacturing business.
I thought they were getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
Could you all carry your conversation on outside in the hallway? We have some more business to contend with, please.
Okay. This request is for a retail showroom, cafe, and light manufacturing business that produces and sells aftermarket motorcycle parts. The property is located at 6128 Highway 411 South and is zoned RAC and R1. The portion that is zoned RAC is approximately 320 feet from Highway 411 South back, which takes in the existing structure. The remainder of the property that fronts Old Niles Ferry is zoned R1 and could not be used for the commercial expansion. The property is identified on tax map 110, parcel 1.02. Currently, this property houses a gymnastics facility. The RAC zone allows both retail sales and cafe as permitted uses. However, manufacturing is not a use that is permitted in the zone. This is a case where the applicant will actually be selling the merchandise that they produce on site. This gray area is why this request has been brought before the board for consideration as a special exception. This board has approved this special exception for this same business at 1718 King Circle back in 2008. The business has grown and they have an interest in purchasing this site on 411 South to conduct all phases of the business under one roof. If this request is approved, the change in occupancy will require a building permit for the remodeling that will be required. Below is a copy of the RAC zoning regulations and a copy of the site plan. Keep in mind the structure in the existing the structure is an existing structure with no proposed additions. I say that because it's close to the property line on one side, but that aspect is grandfathered.
Is there anyone here in favor of this special exception who'd like to speak?
Yes, sir. My name is Darrell Collins. I'm the owner of that piece of property, 6128 Highway 411 North. It's currently, the current occupant is Gymnastics Counts. If you guys have ever been down 411, you've seen the building. Alex Sossenberg, if I said that correct, is the individual who we have entered into a lease purchase agreement pending this approval for the change of venue. And as Roger pointed out, he currently operates at 1718 King Circle and also leases a separate building on Morganton Road and essentially just out of room. And his desire is to put a showroom. He builds they're called fairings. If you guys are motorcyclists, I am not, but it's like the gold wing front end of a Honda. He produces those and also saddlebags in various colors for aftermarket purposes. In any event, the showroom will be the main, I guess, thrust for the front of the building, and then in behind that he would have, or in the area would also be a cafe. That probably will be come down later down the road, the cafe that being that. And then the other half of the building, if there's a site plan there that has the building, there's two sections. Essentially, there's a 10,000 square foot bay and a 6,000 square foot bay. And my understanding, talking with Alex, is that he would use one bay for storage and also light manufacturing. It is fiberglass, which is part of the I guess part of the concern and the issue. The average boat manufacturer in Blount County, and the way you measure manufacturing in fiberglass, I'm told, is through resin usage. The average boat manufacturer in Blount County uses 10 to 20 tons of resin any given month. In Alex's operation, he used less than 6 drums, which are a couple hundred pounds apiece. So it's a much smaller operation. It's all indoors, all enclosed, and essentially the desire to be where he wants to be in Blount County at our property is twofold. One is close to his house. Recently bought a property, I think in Loudoun County, I believe, but just across the county line there. And also there is between the 129, the Dragon, it's called by those that ride motorcycles, and then Monroe County, where my actual home is the Chiraholla Skyway, and motorcyclists make that loop through weekends and actually even through the week. And so his property, or his showroom there, would be out in front of those traveling up and down Highway 411. That's all the notes I've got about it. If you got questions, there are a number of manufacturing facilities that are in the area. They're involved in fiberglass, steel, all kinds of other things. And again, in the case of Alex's business, it'll be primarily a retail operation and then manufacturing up under the same roof. So
that's all you have. Thank you.
That's all I've got right now.
Is there anyone else in favor of this special exception who'd like to speak? Is there anyone in opposition? We'll open up the floor to discussion from the board. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I'm Barry Counts. Me and my wife own gymnastics counts. I didn't really plan on speaking, but I thought I might. I was before this board probably about 6 years ago when the property was, we bought the property, we built the building back in 95, I believe is when it was, when we first started. And 6 years ago, we went to try to sell the building, and we couldn't because it was zoned residential. Is that what it was?
It was R1, and you had it rezoned.
Yeah. So we went through this process and got it rezoned to RAC. Daryl was certainly a blessing to our family because it was at a time that we needed to sell the building financially, but we could not because it was zoned residential. So therefore, he couldn't get a loan because the bank wouldn't loan him money for a commercial building when it was zoned residential. So we went through the process. Y'all were very kind and approved it at that time. We kind of find ourselves now at that point again. If the economy was such, we would be doing fine as a business. But with the economy, we don't have the 300 plus kids that we really need to support a 20,000 square foot building. And we have probably about 150 kids. So we have about half. So we are struggling month to month to pay Daryl. Daryl was a blessing to us and still is. He was a blessing 6 years ago and still is to this day, but now we're kind of putting a burden on him because we're dragging him out every month to try to pay our lease. So we kind of find ourselves in a predicament. Alex bought the property in Greenback, 10 acres that he built his house on, and I met him through that process. During those conversations, he expressed the need for a larger building. That's when we, showed him ours, and then that's when we kind of ran into this obstacle again. So I would ask that you'd be so kind to make this exception so that Alex could buy the building. He's already doing business in Blount County, the very same business that he'll be doing down there, but he will also be doing the cafe and the showroom. So I think it's a good opportunity for the county from a tax basis, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I would appreciate you granting that exception.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this special exception? We'll open up the floor for discussion from the board.
It's 411 before the what?
Use your mic. Larry.
It's right at the border of the Blount County, Loudoun County line.
It's close. It's
actually within 100 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, if you go down 411, 6128 is on the right.
Going down, I'm sorry, it's on the left, sir, on the left.
Well, 6128 is an even number, and that is on the right.
Gotcha. We have 61, 28, 30, and 32.
And they're all...
Are you before the quarry? Are you before the turnoff to go to the rock quarry?
Yes, the rock quarry is on the right.
Right.
We are before you get to the rock quarry on the left. We're the
How
last
far?
business in Blount County. If you know where that fireworks stand is, that
Yes.
comes in
Yes.
June and
Yes. Yes. Okay.
we're right before that on the left. Same
Okay.
side as fireworks.
I just didn't see a sign there.
Yeah, it's a small sign. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about.
I'm
larger
sorry.
sign.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know where you are. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any ventilation problems?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any ventilation problems in your fiberglass?
Any ventilation problems?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alex is not here to speak to that. That'd be his.
Well, it was in the paper the other day, to shut one down because.
Well, and he and I spoke of that, and here's what he said: the facility on Morganton Road was really not suited for what he needed over there, and that's part of the reason for getting out of there and into under one roof. And I don't know anything about what happened or any of that, quite honestly.
Is this the same deal? The one that was shut down on Morganton Road? Is it the same fiberglass operation?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not Alex either, obviously. My understanding on that was they started using the place on Morganton Road, which was the old Mastercraft boat building. And they kind of made the assumption that I heard earlier in the evening that might have been made on the other one. They made the assumption if boats were built there before fiberglass, therefore their business should be able to function there as well. And so they leased that space. I think maybe one of the major problems was there was no water in that particular part of the building. So they would bring water down themselves on a trailer for what they needed it for. So I think at that point, is when they got told that they were not allowed to be in that building. So then they, of course, shut that down, but I guess they have a special exception where they're at in
The use at the old
Blount County.
Mastercraft plant was fine. It was a codes issue that they had at the old place. There was no ventilation. There was no running water to supply water to the sprinklers. So it was a codes violation. And that's why I mentioned in my report that they're going to have to do a little remodeling when they buy this. And it's not something that's going to be extravagant, but it'll have to be ventilated because of the materials that they're dealing with. Sure. So those codes they'll have to get a building permit for a remodel to accommodate those codes, if you guys approve.
And can I say one more thing? And Daryl already mentioned it, and it may not even matter because I've mentioned this to Roger, but Ultramarine or Viper Customs is probably not even a half mile from our building. That's where the old Supra boats used to be. Now Viper Customs does all kinds of fiberglass work there. Ultramarine is then just across the field from there, all of them on the same side that we are. So I mean, just in that same area, there's already that type work being done, but Alex's business will be a whole lot smaller use of resin than what the typical boat manufacturer would be.
Any other discussion? Certainly, motion.
I move we grant the special exemption.
Andy Allen?
Yes.
Larry Chesney?
Yes.
Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Stan Hedrick?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes.
Motion to approve was approved.
Third special exception tonight, request to change use on South Odell Road.
Call me in the morning.
Yeah.
This special exceptions on South Odell Road. We remember the gun magazine business. This same applicant, different location. Properties identified on 56 parcel tax map 56 parcel 10921 and is zoned suburbanizing. The property is currently used for a pet food supplies company, and the proposed use will be as a warehouse / office for a gun magazine distributor. There will be no retail sales, and the business will have 6 employees. Other than daily UPS pickup and delivery, there will be 1 larger delivery truck approximately per week. Currently there is well, I left that in the write-up. I just cut and pasted it from last. But the difference on this one is, I believe the current, you're basing your decision on this as a change of use. The current use, you can make the decision to change a grandfathered use if it is shown to be less impacted than the existing use. The existing use does have some truck traffic already established. So that's the difference between this request and the request for the site that they were at last month.
That's all you have?
That's it.
I presume you're in favor of this special exception.
I am, yes.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
My name is Lori Henderson. I'm the general manager at SGM Tactical, and basically I'm here tonight, obviously, to answer any questions you'd have. I know we were here before, so you're basically familiar with our business and what we do. I know the building we're looking at now, for some reason we just like suburbanized buildings, apparently, because that's what we keep finding. So that we can come before y'all. But yeah, they already have the truck traffic, the UPS. I mean, this company already has all that. So yeah, I'm just here to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Can I get your last name again? I missed
Henderson.
it. Henderson.
Henderson, yes.
Thank you.
I don't imagine there's anybody in opposition to this. If there is, they can welcome to speak, but if not, we'll open up the floor for discussion from the board.
Hey, Roger. The
Yes.
business that's in there now, do they make dog food?
That is what I'm told.
They do pet products.
Pet.
So they make like dog beds,
They
dog
make it.
coats. Yes, they manufacture.
They're a manufacturing
Yeah, so they get in large boats of material, because we actually went out there and walked through to look at the building when we found out it was available. So there's large boats of material that come in. That's what they truck in. And then they make it into dog products.
Thank you.
Is it still active? It looked like it was.
Yes, I believe so.
It is, yeah, I think they'll probably move to a smaller location. The way they explained it to me, they were in a small location, got really busy, bought this building, and then with the economy, they've really slowed down, so they need to move out of such a huge facility and move back to a small one.
Because it really didn't look like there was much going on there.
Any other discussion on the board? No, Chair will entertain a motion.
I move we grant special exemption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Andy Allen?
Yes.
Larry Chesney?
Yes.
Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Stan Hedrick?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes.
Motion to approve, approved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Tonight, 2 variances. First variance is a request for a rear setback at 924 Mackenzie Drive.
This request is from the rear building setbacks. The property is identified on tax map 37L, Group C, parcel 19, and is zoned suburbanizing. The required rear setback is 20 feet, and the requested relief is for 17 feet. I put variance, that's confusing. He's wanting to be 17 feet back, so he's just asking for a 3 feet variance. Lot size and shape are claimed physical hardships for the lot. There was also some confusion on what the setbacks were at the time that the applicant bought the property and started designing a home that would fit on the lot. The applicant was given setbacks from I believe this is what happened. The applicant was given setbacks from a preliminary plat at the time he purchased the lots, and I'll go into a little bit of discussion here. That's in Maryville's planning jurisdiction, and they have a standard 25-foot front, but it was caught before the plat was approved, and on the final plat they had the 30-foot setback. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened in this case. And I did include the documentation that the applicant was presented with at the time that he bought the property. This lot is at the end of the street that does have a cul-de-sac. It's not really a cul-de-sac, it's a T as a turnaround, which does impact the front of this property and house location.
I presume you're in favor of this special exception.
Yes, I'm Ron Tobler. It's my pleasure to meet you tonight, and I'm here for any questions that you might have.
You don't have anything to add to what Roger just told us?
No, sir.
Okay.
Clarify, all he's asking for is a 3-foot variance.
Yes. Yeah, that would give him a 17-foot setback.
From the rear.
Correct.
The sides and the front are still okay.
He can make the sides and front work with the relief.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion from the board?
I assume you didn't get any opposition to this, Roger?
I had a few phone calls, and when I explained what the applicant was asking for, they seemed to have no problems with it.
No. Is there a second?
Is that you, Andy?
Yes, sir.
Andy Allen?
Yes.
Larry Chesney?
Yes.
Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Stan Hedrick?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes. Motion approved.
Approved.
Thank you very much.
Second variance tonight, the front and rear setback requirements on East Lamar Alexander Parkway.
This request is for setback variance from the front and the rear setbacks. The property is identified on tax map 72, parcel 13, and is zoned R1. The required setbacks are 60 feet from the front property line and 20 feet from the rear property line. The requested setback is 24 feet from the front and 0 to 2 feet. I couldn't really tell from materials on the back. This location is used by Blount County Fire Protection District, and the proposed building addition will line up with the existing structure. The location will be approximately 72 feet from the paved surface of East Lamar Alexander Parkway, and the proposed structure will be very close to the rear property line. I'm guessing less than 2 feet. The property directly behind this site is the bank of the Little River and is not identified on a tax card. The structure will be over 100 feet from the river bank and is located outside the flood zone, which I was happy to see. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there anyone here in favor of this variance that would like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Commissioner Kirby, we're here to answer any questions or explain any of the drawings or whatever you need for us to do.
Is this an enclosed structure? Is it an enclosed structure or just a cover?
Is it what?
Is it an enclosed structure or just?
Yes, what's happened up in the Wallen area, it's grown so much since we put this station in. We just had 2 trucks and part-time people. So now, since Blackberry Farms and the whole 9 yards, we're going to extend 2 more bays on this building, put the pad out in front like the existing building is for the bigger trucks to turn around and get ready to go again. And all we're doing here is we're going to turn this station into a full-man station instead of a part-time station. So we need the safety. We come in on East Miller's Cove. We don't access on the Lamar Alexander. When we built the station years ago, that was what one of the things the state said for us to do is access off East Miller's and not come out on the very main highway.
Mr. Kirby, who owns the property behind you? It says it's not identified on a tax map. Who owns it?
We own all the way to the middle of the river.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We're on an island, sort of. We go all the way down East Lamar Alexander towards Maryville, and it points out way down, good ways down the river.
Any other discussion from the board? Chair will entertain a motion.
I move its approval.
Second. Is that Andy and Larry?
Yes.
That was Stan and Larry.
Stan, okay. So motion to approve Andy Allen?
Yes.
Larry Chesney? Yes. Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Stan Hedrick?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kirby.
Thank you, gentlemen.
This next request was for a determination. You guys get these every now and then. We have the sections in the zoning regulations. It's a home occupation, which is defined as anything that's done within the dwelling that you reside, and it gives a non-exhaustive list, and then it says other lists to be determined by the BZA. This request is for a coffee bean, and they're here, I see them, roasting, and it's going to be conducted within their home in the basement. They're bringing the beans here, roasting them, and then just taking them off-site and selling them to their customers. And just looking, if you determine that would fit into the realm of that. The other uses that are similar. Where's the second page? These are the other uses: the office or studio of a physician, dentist, artist, musician, lawyer, architect, engineer, teacher, or similar professional. Workshops, greenhouses, kilns, dressmaking or hairdressing studios, and then you have similar or like uses as determined by the BZA on appeal.
Since it's not a special exception or a variance, but is there anything that you would like to add to what Roger just told us?
No, sir, it's just we're not going to have anybody there. We're just going to roast the coffee and take it somewhere else and sell it, deliver it.
Okay. We'll just open up the floor to discussion.
How do you roast a coffee bean?
Well, we've got a roaster. We haven't used it yet, though, so.
How many pounds will you roast a day?
You can roast like 8 pounds at a time.
Oh, okay. And what's the temperature of your roaster?
I think it goes up to 550.
Okay.
Is what we're supposed to roast today.
I was going somewhere with this because a
Okay.
kiln is a lot higher temperature than I thought.
Oh,
it
it's
was.
not
Okay.
anywhere near
All
a
right.
kiln.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We enjoyed it, Stanley. We enjoyed it.
Need
I have a
laughter
question.
now.
Yes. Are you saying that, based on this document, that someone could put a hairdressing salon in their basement of their house in a subdivision and operate it?
Yes.
Yep.
And have traffic and people parking in
If
the
it
subdivision?
meets the requirements, you got to read the rest of the requirements. They have to reside there. They can't have any. It isn't like a family commercial enterprise where you can have off-site employees. It just has to be for the occupants of the home.
Have you had any complaints about neighbors with the smell of coffee?
I told them that they'd probably have to run me off.
I'll be right behind you.
Answers yes or no?
I haven't had any, but I don't think they're roasting beans.
We haven't started yet. We want to come before the board first, so.
You haven't started yet.
No, sir.
You know, I want to thank you for coming before us before starting.
Say that again.
Once in a while, we get them.
I thank her for coming before us before she started.
So Roger, you're needing a vote on this to find out
Yes.
if it'll approve as
Yes,
a home use.
I move that we grant.
Second.
Okay.
I have a question. This doesn't set a precedent for anyone else in the county to start up a coffee roasting, or does this only apply to this one location?
Since you've made the determination, it could be applicable.
Anybody can roast coffee.
If you pass it, of course.
Any other questions?
Ready for the vote?
Yes.
Andy Allen?
Yes.
Larry Chestnut?
Yes.
Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Stan Hedrick?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes. We appreciate you coming before us before you started.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Good luck.
Roger, any other
I
business?
have nothing else.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.